Hello, everybody. Good to see you guys. I am Kari the Mortician, and this is Coffee with Kari, even though I'm not having coffee because it's afternoon and that would be too much. But we are here is live chat with the Mortician. Every week you guys send me a crap ton of questions for me to answer. And so we dive in and answer them, and then you can ask them live as well. So welcome. Hey, everybody. How are you guys? Hey, Nicole, Marianne, Harold, Naomi. I love saying hi to you guys. So the first question was, why doesn't blood coagulate? It does. Blood clots immediately when someone starts to die. It can happen as they're laying, as they're dying, but within about a half hour of death, that blood is coagulating like crazy. So yes, when we embalm, there are clots. And so that's why sometimes we have to use that really high pressure to basically blow the clots out. We want to push them out. It is kind of satisfying when you get like these clots that are, I'm not joking, you can get them where they're just like stupid long. And it's kind of like you pull it out. It's crazy. It's like a big snake. I don't even know. Clots are so weird that the body does that and the blood does that in that reaction, but they happen right away. So yes, blood does coagulate. Hey, everybody. Oh, hello in Flint, Michigan. So nice to see you guys. Welcome, welcome. Yeah, Dominique, thanks for joining live. Hello down in Dallas. Hey, JW. So more question. With a cremation, can their family be there to start the process? Yes, they can. We were told we could be a part of the process by one crematory. So they needed a casket at the celebration of life. The mortuary made us have her embalmed despite not having an open casket. Is it commonplace to embalm someone who's going to be cremated? No, you don't need to embalm if they're going to be cremated. But if there's a long delay from death to the cremation and you're going to have a funeral in the middle, they may require it. And then depending on the state, it may be required that you do that because they're not embalmed, cremated, or in a cold area. So they may require that. Hey, James, thanks for catching the live. Oh, sorry. I'm reading notes. I need to not read notes because I get all caught up. Yes. Can the family be present for a cremation? Yes, you can be there. You're not watching it happen. It's a closed door into the retort. And in most new machines, you're not opening that door. So you're not actually seeing the person inside during the process. You see them go in, you can push the button. That's the end. And you can be there while they're there. And then when they pull them out, you can be there and then they process them. But you're not watching during the middle of the process. Marshall, where's the bookcase coffin? It's coming. I ordered it. He said he was a little back on orders. And so as soon as it comes, my 80-pound kit of coffin and bookshelf making, don't worry, you guys will know. You will know. And then can you be present for the embalming process? It is not legal for you to be present during the embalming process. No. So you have a demanding vocation in normal times. So when you say you're drowning in work, I absolutely believe you. I wonder what is driving the surge in deaths, if not COVID-19. I think we talked about this last week, that, the delay in people getting medical attention, I think is driving some of the spikes we're seeing right now, that people didn't get medical attention. And so back they come. How often is someone found alive at the funeral home? Like, 1 in a bazillion. It's so not happening. No. Is it normal for a person who's dying? Does the body slowly change temperatures? Yeah, temperature will sometimes drop. It just depends. Donna, that's interesting. It might just be the funeral home's requirement, though, not a law. My understanding of the head examination for an autopsy. So this person is asking about autopsies, which we don't do. Those are done by the medical examiner or pathologist. Like Dr. G. A lot of you reference Dr. G, some of the other shows that you guys watch on YouTube. What are some other things you guys watch on YouTube? Like you're here watching the Mortician thing. What else do you guys like watching? Do you like watching Dr. G? Do you watch true crime stuff? I've got a buddy and he watches hunting shows all the time. Like we're out on a hunt. There's the deer. Oh, we're watching the deer show, you know? What else do you guys watch? So Dr. G, they talked about the autopsies, the brain. My understanding of the head examination is that they cut the skin from the area behind the ear to the same place behind the other ear so they can roll the skin back. Then they saw through the bone to see the brain. I just watched the show where you mentioned Dr. G and answered a few questions. You didn't answer mine. Do they saw the back of the head or what? You said on the video that there is a towel or cotton in the cavity. Does that mean the brain is placed in the viscera bag? Yes. Do you put the brain back in the head? No. Do you leave it in the bag? Yes. So whatever they do to the head, are you responsible to suture all the cuts? Yes, we suture the person back up. Do you have to cover the sutures with something so that no one can see the sutures? Not really. On the head, the hair kind of covers it. If the person is bald, we might often try to bury it down on the pillow so that the pillow is covering, or request that they bring in a hat or something to put over. So yes, the incision is made from behind one earlobe around to behind the other. Sometimes they're not quite great at that and it comes up too far, or it's way on top of the head, or it's all over the place. So it's not always the exact same. There's a full incision made. The skin is rolled up. It's amazing how pliable your tissue on your head is, that you can pull the skin literally from back here. You can pull it all the way down to your nose or in like even your chin. It's crazy. And they take out a whole section of your skull. So the whole back of your skull comes off in one piece when they do this. And then we have that skull piece. We take it out when we're embalming to make sure everything's good. We dry out the area, put something like cotton or something in the skull. We place that skull piece back in and reattach it. Sometimes we use clamps. They're called calvarium clamps. Some people use a putty. Some will drill holes and use zip ties to attach or to suture it together. And then we place the skin back and we suture around. Does the ME ever keep something in case there's more questions? Yes, sometimes the brain is kept, and they keep tissue samples of all the internal organs. On one of her shows, the funeral director had phoned her complaining about the way the scalp was cut. This is the reason I started thinking about this. Yes, and like I said, sometimes their dissection is not great for us because we lose vessels sometimes that we need to inject. The incisions may be showing where we can't really cover them. So sometimes, yeah, it is a challenge after an autopsy. So what if you have replacement body parts? Are they removed before a cremation or just through the furnace? It's not a furnace. It is a retort. And metal implants are not removed until after the cremation. There's no need to. Anything with a battery that would explode is removed, like a pacemaker. Some pain pumps have that even in them. So that is the only things that you would have to remove beforehand. We're going to have hopefully a video coming up, a live with me and a crematory operator. I've got to get it okayed. Thank you, Marshall Lord. All of the, what do you call that? Top chat people that send money right now, it's still going towards the casket kit purchase to be able to pay them their full amount. I want to help support, people in the industry. So yay, fun. Thanks, Marshall. The entire body is sent into the retort. I asked for my mom's artificial hip back after. Lisa, yes. And you can have your artificial stuff, you can have your implants returned after if you want to. You'll just have to sign something for them. Otherwise, the crematories collect them, send them for recycling. So they are recycled. Hello. Yeah, so coming up, I'm hoping to do a couple lives with some people. It's kind of hard to set up because I have to be at a computer with that person. You can't do a split screen live on YouTube. It's just doesn't happen for whatever reason. We can't do that like a Zoom. So working on these things, working on it and getting authorization. And what else do I have coming up? I don't even know. So much stuff. Is there a word for the time between when a person dies and when the funeral takes place? No, there's not a specific word. On a personal note, hope you're doing well. Thank you. Thanks, Mac. Is there a resistance when you puncture organs during aspiration? Is there such a thing as overkill during aspiration? Too many punctures. So aspiration is when you use the trocar. It's about 2 feet long. It's kind of a hollow tube with a point on it. And you place it and insert it 2 inches over and 2 inches up from the belly button is kind of the standard. And it's attached to a machine that has suction. And the goal is that you are puncturing as much inside the thoracic cavity and the abdomen as possible. You want to make holes so that when you put fluid in after, it can go into as many places as possible. And you're wanting to suck out as much blood or bacteria or feces or urine or anything that you can get. You want to get it out. So I don't know that there's an over aspirating that you can do. Definitely can under aspirate. And yet you can feel when you hit certain things. You can feel when you run into a bone. You can feel when you pop through, I hate to say it that way, into like the bladder, or when you enter certain things, you can feel resistance. Robin, yay, you're catching this live. Thank you. I say us, we're all together. Someone actually sent me an email recently and said, we are almost at 100,000 subscribers. We are doing great. And I always say we because it's not just me, like you guys are part of all of it too. So it's kind of nice that that email came and that they send that. What are rules of spreading cremated remains? I have a whole video on it. So check out that video, Sherry. But you cannot spread cremated remains on private property, which includes state land, water, anywhere without a permit. Happy Friday, Joshua. Flying through the questions. This is awesome. Hey, Dallas. Did you guys do Halloween was last week? How much fun did you have with that? I love passing out candy. I like seeing the kids come up. Not as much fun going and walking around. So I sat at my house. I had a big glass of Josh's Merlot. If you guys know anybody from Josh Cellars, you should tell them they need a spokesperson who's a mortician, because I love Josh. I do. Can you do a viewing for family if the person is badly decomposed? Yes, is the general question. Answer. It depends. Decomposed is the largest spectrum of possibilities. So it's hard to know what your vision of decomposing is. We are decomposing the moment we die. So somebody is decomposed an hour after death, and a week after death, and a month after death. So it just depends on the parameters of what it is you're thinking. Braden asked, this is such a good question. I almost did a whole video. I haven't yet. I should. Can you give me tips or advice on how to discuss getting embalming authorization from a family during a removal? Could you give me a tips on how to get permission for embalming? This is actually super simple, and it's just a few questions or how you phrase things. So like when I call families to, like, let's say they died at the hospital and the hospital's called us, we're not going on the removal and seeing the family. So you call them on the phone. Same thing as if you were there in person. You know, could you tell me a little about your mom's wishes, or what have you discussed as a family that you want to do for your mom? and services that you want to have. And if they say, oh, we just want cremation, okay, that's the disposition choice. So what kind of services are going to lead up to cremation? Is there going to be any viewing, any gathering? What are you guys thinking? And if they respond, nope, no viewing, nothing. Okay, there's not going to be an identification time with the family. Nope, we've all seen her, we're good. Okay, you don't even need to bring up embalming at that point then. Now, if they're like, oh, they're going to be buried at the cemetery, blah, blah. Okay, are you going to be having a viewing time for the public? Yes. Okay, if we're going to have a viewing time for the public, we as a funeral home do require that the person is embalmed. Do we have your permission to do that preparation work? So it's all about, you're not specifically asking for the embalming, you're asking what kind of things they want to do while they're in your care with their loved one. So by having a little bit of that discussion, it also gives you groundwork for when they walk in, things to talk about and things that you need to show them. And it gives you the path that you're going to go down. So some of those hopefully will help you, but just even simply saying, for us we're going to be taking your mom back to the funeral home, and it would be at that time that we would do embalming if that is something that you are wanting us to do. What kind of services do you want to do? So we know if that's something that is an option, or you can phrase it in a lot of different ways. They're expecting you're going to ask some of these things. So it's not like this taboo thing. If you're uncomfortable talking about these things, you need to get more comfortable talking about what it is you do for a living. So you need to embrace more that. It's not something you need to whisper and talk about in the back because it's a naughty thing that we're embalming. Just ask and just talk about it and have a conversation with them. Your groundwork you lay with them during those conversations is how they're going to kind of look at you and respect you also as a funeral person that they're working with and as a knowledgeable person. So when you speak with authority, it's good. It's a good thing. All right. Can a person be so decomposed that cremation is the only option? No, because you can always bury that person. There's no rules against burying somebody who's decomposed. How do you feel about separated remains like cremated remains? It's a personal viewpoint. Some people want the person to remain whole, even in cremation, and some people divvy them up to like 30 different family members. So it's whatever the family wants. We did a trunk or treat with a baby this year. It was so fun. Oh, I always am like, oh, that baby can't even eat candy. Why are they out trick or treating? It's just fun. Who cares? Pass out the candy. Yes, you can take your mom's remains to another country. It's going to take permits and could be quite costly. Are you concerned with the inexorable shift in the funeral industry toward unembalmed cremation in a cardboard box? I would prefer that the cardboard box was used last, and maybe something like willow or bamboo, something like that. That's a easier, more combustible item, but that's just my personal thoughts on that part of it. Or just in a shroud on a board rather than burning up so much cardboard. That to me seems like a waste of resource. What causes a very light complexion mon to be so dark after embalming? Ooh, that's a huge variety. You could have embalming gray going, or formaldehyde gray, not embalming gray. Formaldehyde gray, which I have a 2-minute on, so you can check that out. The person might have been lying on their face. They might have had restriction of blood up into their head at the time of death that could have caused some darkening. So there's a variety of things. Can anyone get COVID from a deceased person that's had COVID? Yes, they're still contagious, but that has to be expelled out. It's not just like sitting on their skin per se. It's active in their lungs and everything, just like with a living person. Like it needs to be passed from person to person. So if they're just like laying there, it's not like it's jumping off them at you. Okay. Man, I'm excited. I didn't think I'd get through this pile. What does an embalmer do after an embalming procedure? Do you have to clean or anything, your machine, your trocar? Yes, you have to wipe everything down. You need to rinse out your machine. You sanitize all your instruments, your trocar. You clean up the space. You look around because sometimes blood splatter is legit. If you drop even a little, it then splatters onto something else. So you may not think you're making much of a mess, but when you look around, you could be making quite a big mess. Is the deceased moved from the embalming table to another table? And does the embalming table need to be sterilized? Everything needs to be sterilized. Just end of the day, yes, sterilize the heck out of everything. You only need to move them off the embalming table if you need the table. If you're a slow funeral home, you don't do a ton of calls, you may not need that table right away, but some funeral homes you do. So you move them over to a dressing table or to a cot or another surface that you can open up your embalming table if you only have one table. Do you clean and then do a setup or preparation for the next embalming? It depends. If I was at a place and that was the only place I was at, I would lay out all my common instruments that I would use on a new clean towel. So they were all ready to go. And I would get things set, but that's not how I work right now. If I go in and embalm, it's trade embalming, or if I'm kind of in and out of places. I'm not just there all the time. So it's definitely different for me at this point. Whoop, whoop. What do you think about a natural burial? I like the natural burial, but I will tell you, we have had more people that I'm encountering who are like, oh, well, this isn't convenient for me this week. So we're going to wait a week and a half until we have a funeral because it just doesn't work in my schedule. You can't just keep somebody around for a week and a half if you don't have a cooler or you don't have some things. You have to do the preparation work. So if our society would stop and handle death when it's happening instead of pushing off, it would maybe not need to happen quite as much, the embalming. So there's some catch-22 there with, it's not really the funeral home pushing with a lot of stuff. It's families pushing that they want this delays. So some of that is a big factor. Have you heard about the King 5 destination? No, I have not. I was in an autopsy at a funeral home, and on another table, there was a set of remains with plastic wrap covering the face. Why would they do that? Great question, Bo. Oftentimes, that is done because there's gel or there's cream on the face that they want to make sure stays on the face. So formaldehyde is a gas that's put in a liquid vehicle to use for embalming. Same with a gel. So there's like one brand is called Syngel. If the face has not gotten enough fluid through the embalming process arterially, the Syngel may be put on the face and then plastic over. And you want to put that plastic because it's a gas. You want it to go in and not out. And so they may cover with that. Or they may be holding that person for an extended time and have just like a cream or something like a stone oil or a cream on the face. And they want to just keep that person from dehydrating by putting a piece of plastic over that. So not an uncommon thing. No, you don't have to be embalmed. So there's no state that it's a law that your body has to be embalmed in general. However, if you're leaving and going across state lines, it might be a law. If you are being held for an extended period of time, it might be a law. If you're not buried, cremated, or in a cooler for a certain period of times, it might be a law that has to happen. Have you guys send me a lot of different videos and things that are out there and comical things and like all sorts of things that have to do with the funeral home and funeral business. And I think somebody just resent me one that had been, I think it was in Ireland, and this guy was buried with his phone. What was it? There's two of them, and I think I'm getting them mixed up now. The guy's buried with his phone or with a tape recorder, and they turn it on, and it's like him talking from the grave. Like, hey, what are you doing? And blah, blah, blah. And everybody was laughing. I think another one was a ringtone, and then the phone went off in the grave, but it was like a song that was, Drop It Like It's Hot, or Another One Bites the Dust, or, it was a comical funeral song. So it's just kind of fun. But you guys send me a lot of that kind of stuff. So some of it I've seen before, some of it I haven't. So it makes me think of ringtones. And one of my best friend's ringtones is Thunderstruck, and another is Pour Some Sugar on Me. Like, what kind of fun ringtones do you guys have for your family and friends? Drop them in comments. I like to know these things. I like to dig into some of these off the wall things with you guys. Thank you, Jasmine. Porcelain versus stainless steel. What slab is better? Yeah, I hate that term. That's just an insane term. And it wouldn't be called a slab at the funeral home. That's more like the morgue. I personally, so stainless steel is much lighter. It's easier to maneuver. You don't have to resurface it like you do the porcelain, but the porcelain is just kind of that tried and true thing. However, we had wheels break on one recently. And so having to stand there holding the table up while they were trying to fix the wheels so we didn't have an accident. Yeah, that was heavy. They're super, super heavy. That's why I work out, right? Workout. The Walking Dead theme is my ringtone. That's fun. See, I think people have crazy fun ringtones. We're on silent vibrate or whatever on your phones often, so you don't hear them, but it's fun. So I'm going to take just 2 or 3 more questions today. I had a kind of short time frame. I just recorded a video for a student. I'll be posting that sometime this weekend too. She asked me 13 questions that she needed for a paper project that she's doing. So a preacher just scolded me today. He said, "We help the living and don't worship the dead." I understand where he is coming from. I was still watching General Powell's funeral this morning. I didn't even know his funeral was on today. I need to go watch. I had literally no clue. I don't watch the news in the morning. So unless it's like big news that pops up as I'm looking through things, or, an email generated news story or something, I may not see it. Thank you, Rock of Ages. I appreciate you guys. Cashmere or is it Cashmere by Led Zeppelin? Yeah, Led Zeppelin's a big one too. Just used one of their songs for like a video or a picture thing the other day. I love some of their lyrics. I don't like actually listening to the song because I can't understand half the words if I'm listening to it. But I love some of the lyrics to their music. I think that's why some people choose songs for funerals, is they love the lyrics. But then when it's played, it's kind of like, ooh, why are we playing this? But if you read the words, they're beautiful and they're perfect for a funeral, but the song itself, it doesn't fit maybe. As a Patriot Guard rider, I've been to over 500 funerals and escorts, a lot of suicides. Do you know how they do it? Shotguns? Roger, I don't know what you're asking. Was the most fascinating journey you've either heard or have had happen to a corpse? The most fascinating journey? I don't know what you mean by journey. How was the general preserved for so long? He died mid-October. Is he already decomposing in the casket? No. I mean, that's just 2 weeks ago. That's not that long. So somebody will have been kind of put in charge of his care to make sure that he is preserved perfectly for all of the services and everything that are happening. Is it hard working on the dead and trying to go through normal life after? No, because that's my normal life. For a plumber, is it hard to go snake drains and have to pull out hairballs and then go to normal life? Like, to me, that's far more disgusting than what I do. So it's all perspective, I think, when you're dealing with all of it. Ashley, that's awesome. Dancing Queen was played. I love that. That's super cool. Your ringtone is the intro to the Three Stooges. I love that. I love these answers. Like, these are random things I kind of want to know. Like, what else do people do? It's just fun. Well, I'm going to wind down. Thank you, guys. Make sure you email me if you have specific questions. Just like today, I print them off and I'll read through them and do them in the next video that we do. So next week, one day, we'll do another Coffee with Kari chat. I'll try and do an evening one and try and do a little bit longer. And yeah, keep your comments coming, keep your questions coming. If you find a video you love and find something in it that resonates with you, make sure to share it because someone else will want that information too. And click subscribe. Don't be crazy and not subscribe. Check out, one of my favorite videos I've done recently that people, I can't believe how many comments I got on it, was the ick factor. So go over and leave your comment and your thoughts on my question that I left for you guys. And next week I'll do another viewer response video. I found that those are kind of fun when you guys get to tell me a little about how you feel. So you told me how you felt about the ick. Sometimes the ick is good though, right? 2 thumbs up for the ick. But yeah, thank you guys. And I'll talk to you soon. Bye.